Hey guys, my name is Miska and welcome to Overwatch Central. I know I probably sound really ill to most of you. Whilst my voice doesn't sound exactly like normal, trust me, it sounds a lot worse than it is. Anyway, today I want to talk about hero bans once again because it's been such a hot topic lately, and I want to go through some community thoughts, highlight a couple things I feel like a lot of people failed to mention still, in an attempt to kind of keep the discussion going until the devs themselves can actually comment on this as well. First up, I saw this tweet from Arrow, definitely one of the best coaches in Overwatch right now, currently head coach for the Dallas Fuel. The tweet reads, "Been a fan of hero bans for a long time, even have used a 2 hero ban total system in tryouts to force a meta and or test leaders' creativity. Watching a team adapt to something new is exciting. Scouting, preparation, strategy and creativity have more value." I don't want to just quote this entire tweet chain for the sake of my voice and the length of this video, but the tweet will be in the description if you want to check it out. I do want to mention though, at the end of this tweet chain he says that hero bans in competitive would need to look different from the ones that he's kind of tried out here, but he makes a lot of interesting points about how it affects the game, the players, and just Overwatch as a whole there. Jake gave his 2 cents as well on the conversation in a long Twitter chain as well, saying that common argument against hero bans in Overwatch is that they reduce hero diversity. I think this is simply false in a competitive context, meaning Overwatch League contenders, etc. He gives a few examples of how hero bans here can actually still be changed in a way that don't make them too repetitive or too targeted. The main point I feel like he's making, along with Arrow here though, is that there's a lot of ways that hero bans can be implemented to not be destructive and actually instead promote quite a lot of diversity in picks and just interesting matchups. And this is the thing, I think the developers have been really bad at looking at hero bans in this way. The developers have been looking at hero bans in a very simple way from what it seems when they talked about it. Banning a hero would mean that people can target certain bans. It would be disruptive because you won't see certain heroes that you might want to see in various games, and it feels like it would take away from core Overwatch, is what Jeff Goodman and Jeff Kaplan have said a lot, without really talking too much about the good that it can bring, and also talking about it in a way that would imply that it would be multiple bans from both teams every single game, instead of looking at the different options and talking about that with the community. Secondly, I feel like the developers have been pretty bad at trying to create a dialogue regarding hero bans, and I'm not quite sure if that's because they've been holding off with that, or if they've just kind of overlooked that part of it. We should be starting to try and reach a middle ground, find a format for hero bans that kind of works, or at least is worth testing on the PTR, which isn't meant to be a preview region to look at the next patch, but rather to try things out and actually test things. The sooner we start moving in that direction, the better. I also saw this tweet from this Rainbow Six Siege caster, a caster of a game that I think has done hero bans really well, talking about hero bans in Siege, saying a lot of Overwatch players are talking about hero bans where each team gets to ban a hero per match. Rainbow Six introduced operator bans earlier this year, and oh boy, the bans are excellent. It will improve your game while making matches more enjoyable and diverse. Do it. I'm glad to see this sort of input from elsewhere too, but I want to kind of get to the cons of hero bans as well and highlight a couple really good points that people have brought up in relation to that. First off, Reinforce has not really brought up a con, but has said that Overwatch doesn't need hero bans. It needs map design to matter again. Maps are meant as pseudo hero bans, but overwhelming amounts of heals and health makes point pressure comps strong, discouraging high ground and flank heroes, nerf heals and ult charge for diversity. Definitely an interesting point I've not really seen anyone else make, and this is a good point to remind everyone that it's not like everyone thinks that hero bans is gonna be some major fix for the game that's just gonna make everything better. It's also worth noting that we're talking about hero bans in competitive matchmaking versus hero bans on an esports tier 3, tier 2, tier 1 scene type of level, which can definitely be 2 very different things and 2 very different types of changes or fixes. Gunba, an assistant coach for the Boston Uprising, also went into this in a Medium post he made titled Hero Ban Criticisms. A lot of good examples here on how hero bans would actually affect Overwatch League, what they would really mean for Overwatch League, talking about player burnout, structuring practice, hero diversity, and much more. I'll definitely link that Medium post down below, but to some of the main points that I want to make with this video, hero bans should be talked about in a way with looking at what that could bring to the game and how best you can reach a middle ground that changes and improves the game rather than disrupts the current structure of it. The PTR should be used for testing and not just preview changes, looking at the next patch and such. You need to be looking at hero bans in competitive matchmaking versus Overwatch League as potentially two separate things. And there's a lot of good people making a lot of good points out there that are worth listening to. That's everything for today though. Thank you very much for watching. I'm gonna go because I don't think my voice can bear much more. I really wanted to make this video though, so I hope it was at least somewhat watchable, even though the audio is definitely not the best. Anyway, that's all. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys next time.